This is PF Chang's fire, spice, and passion delivered to you.
Hi, I'm Matt Friedman, CEO and founder of WingZone. And for over 25 years, we have been serving and delivering authentic buffalo wings in amazing flavors. We understand that these are interesting times for all of us. And on behalf of all of our local franchisees who are local business owners in your community, we are offering free direct delivery at wingzone.com. As equally as important as you are to our business, so are our team members. The phone's ringing right now, which is wonderful. Ultimately, that is you calling for a delivery order, and we're gonna make sure we take care of you. Uniformed driver, hot bag, gloves, service with a smile, and some amazing food.
Thank you for joining us here at Restaurant Next. I have such an exciting panel today here on tap. We have Native Delivery Rising, and we have three exceptional panelists with us today. We have Matt Friedman, who's the CEO of WingZone. Hi, Matt.
Hello, great to be here.
Thanks for being with us today. We have Skip Kimpel, who's the CIO of 4R Restaurant Group. Hi, Skip.
Hello, thank you for having us here today.
Great to see you again. And Chris Demery, who is the SVP of Off-Premise Dining for PF Chang's. Hi, Chris.
And other panel mates, if you will.
That's right. Great to see you all. So let's just kick this right off about, because all three of you have such unique backgrounds and experience in this particular area, growing area, I guess, because a heating up area in the industry. So Matt, since you have kind of been a champion over there of native delivery with your brand that is basically a delivery model, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience so far in the, 3 decades that you guys have been going strong?
27 years this month. Wow. Started. So we call it direct delivery. Others will say first party or other things. But for 27 years, we have offered our consumers what we call direct delivery. So they're placing an order through either a phone or our app or through an online ordering system, and we are directly delivering to the consumer. We have obviously been we've had to kind of embrace third party and some of the other options out there. And most of our restaurants, we have about 70 restaurants today, do a hybrid system where they do their own delivery, but also use third party. I think for a lot of the listeners out there and a lot of the attendees, a lot of people will start to ask, well, do I go third party? Do I use my own drivers? I will tell you that just a few key points is that, there's a few things when it comes to insurance, how you're paying people. It is really enhancing your labor force. And for us, we like to control the experience. And the best way to do that is to be able to have a direct relationship with the consumer.
Great point. I know that's such a hot topic and why people are so interested in looking at this, both monetarily and, just for brand, consistency and, appeal, really just getting your food out and making it your WingZone brand that everybody sees and recognizes. So Chris, jumping to you, I know that you had your tenure with Domino's and Bloomin. So I know that, now that you're at PF Chang's, how does that expertise kind of translate to what you're doing there? I know that you've had deep roots in the delivery business for some time now.
So being in charge of off-premises dining, it's about delivery and takeaway and convenience for the customers. As Matt mentioned, there's a lot of reasons to do self-delivery. What I would say is, over my 17 years of doing this, the customer chooses. And in an attempt to build that relationship with the customer, they have to be able to order third party if they want to do that. But if you can do native delivery or self-delivery, we call it self-delivery, like we did at Domino's Pizza and like Bloomin Brands does also, is that you can enhance that customer experience. They're the ones that choose. Your job is, from a customer satisfaction perspective, is to make them happy. So self-delivery or native delivery is not easy. There are a lot of things you could talk about how to do it. So in my model, I tell my leadership, we have to do both. And in order to satisfy the customer and the customer demand, because their demand is going to change over time.
Right.
Hopefully you can pull them into your self-delivery model so you can build that relationship, but otherwise go sell your great food.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point. A lot of people are looking at hybrid, right? Doing it all and being wherever the customer is. And that's a little bit about where you sit, right, Skip? Because you're kind of in that hybrid model now.
We are. So obviously we started off with, when I joined this company a year and a half ago, we didn't have any self-delivery. It was specifically a third-party delivery model. I came in and talked about delivery as a service, which is the hybrid model where you have a third party such as a DoorDash or Postmates doing the last mile delivery for you. But we didn't know how to properly calculate. I remember when I brought that up, we had a discussion about how do we get to the financial decision of what's the right model for us. And there's so many factors involved with that, from like what Chris said, from an insurance perspective or a fleet perspective. How do you calculate that all in? So we struggled with that a little bit, but the preliminaries definitely showed delivery as a service as being a true good model for us. But one of those intangible things which Matt brought up was owning your customer. From a third-party delivery perspective, they own your customer and they own your customer data. There is a lot to say for being able to control that data and making sure that you have retain that customer experience, not only from a ordering perspective, but also from a quality of service perspective of getting that order delivered to the guest in the way that your brand represents your order. And I think those are two intangibles that it's really hard to put a price tag on those, but I think that is extremely important in your consideration of which model you head towards.
Yeah. And as you know, Skip, we're working on that at the Restaurant Technology Network. We're working on a TCO calculator. And I know that you guys have probably seen it, to sort of put in some of those, not intangibles, but put in some of those hard costs, right? And see where you fall as far as how many deliveries you have, what kind of volume you have during what times of day, what type of services you might need or software you might need, all the different costs to see if that works for you. And Matt, since you guys have been doing it for so long, have you ever used third-party delivery? Or are you guys completely, as you said, did you call it own delivery? I'm sorry, what did you call it?
We call it direct delivery.
Direct delivery.
But, listen, I think you bring up some valid points here, and I wanted to just point out a few important things when it comes to doing your own direct delivery. And it's kind of sexy, right? Like, so, we're just going to start delivering, where you can't just limp into it, okay? If you're also, it really is expanding your labor force. For some restaurants, you may be doubling your labor. At WingZone, we hire or on our payroll, we have as many drivers as we do as insiders or people in the kitchen. So they represent 50% of our labor force. Also, if you're just going to have one driver on, I just don't believe that you're gonna build any sort of volume when it comes to there. And then a lot of people say, well, I'll add another driver when the business comes, but then the business comes and you failed at it. So it's really an investment. And for those people that are seriously looking at doing their own delivery, you may lose money for a significant amount of time until you build enough of a consumer database where it makes sense. Last point I want to make is your own delivery drivers are waiters on wheels. Most of their income is going to be made on tips. Granted, there's some offset of delivery charges that go to them, but if they're not walking out on a particular shift with 50, 60, 75, $100, they're not coming back. So you better have the volume of direct delivery in order to kind of retain those people.
That's a great point. All of those points are very valid. And Chris, I know we talked a little bit, and I know that you are very emphatic about this concept of order level profitability. Can you explain kind of what that means to our audience and why that is critical for you when you assess everything that you're doing there?
Yeah, so I work in the world of prime costs from a dine-in, and I think all of us do. So if you don't understand that, I apologize for the audience. But food and labor, typically, we're trying to keep less than 60%. So 57, that's a wonderful place to be on your prime cost. And then the rest of it is a combination of profitability and your fixed costs. So my model is whatever your investment is to add self-delivery, you should be able to pay for that through delivery and service fees. So you want to maintain that same prime cost model as you're looking at whatever orders you deliver. If somebody else can deliver an order for $4 for you and you're delivering it for $6 or $8, you're eroding your order level profitability. Let them do it for you. To be honest, the third-party companies aren't making money at it. And so as you go into this endeavor, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. The intangibles you're talking about, if you manage those, and those are typically, as Matt already mentioned, tips from your customers. So your customers are paying part of your additional labor, hopefully all of your additional labor, but you have to manage your mileage. So typically you pay out either a per order cost or IRS standard mileage for your drivers. So you have to take that into accountability. And so your service fees and your delivery fees that you're charging your customer have to cover whatever additional costs you're imposing, either through technology, mileage, whatever it happens to be. As Matt said, these are waiters on wheels. What I would say is until you get that volume up, don't hire just delivery drivers. These are servers on wheels, so they can be a takeaway specialist in the restaurant when they're not out on the road delivering. And there's some gotchas there, but it's an easy model to implement. You just have to enforce it. And as Matt said, initially you may be a little on the downside of labor, but build that volume. And what I've found from my past at our average ticket is I need about 40 to 50 deliveries per week that's my prime spot when I really start making money and getting that customer experience to be where I want it to be.
Yeah. So volume is so important.
Yes.
And Skip, as you're starting to kind of put your toe in the water there and move from maybe delivery as a service over to a native or own delivery channel for yourself, direct delivery, so many different words we could call it. How do you sort of quantify that, which Chris is talking about? How do you make that leap?
I think data is everything. I think being able to evaluate your POS data in regards to volume per hour, I think will help you calculate your hourly labor cost. And back to your point, Angela, in regards to the TCO Calculator, the total cost of ownership, we spent significant amount of time in order to analyze all these different pieces, stuff that Four Rivers and my previous company struggled with, to be able to determine what is the most profitable method for our company. And I think by having all of those calculations in mind, I think is going to be a huge advantage to anybody out there considering native delivery or third-party delivery or delivery as a service. It's going to help you evaluate all three of those services and be able to help you determine, what's your profitability based on an order, based upon your volume, what's it going to take, and what's it going to look like at the end of the day.
Right.
And I think those are very powerful numbers to be able to present to senior management at the end of the day.
Yeah, and besides just the data, the analytics, the numbers, the price, order level profitability, I just would love to go around and just get your best advice, for folks listening out there. I mean, you had some great advice earlier, Matt, but anything else you would just tell people who are considering this? It's not easy, as we've learned, right? Just by speaking to you guys, it's not easy. It seems like it's, if it were easy, nobody would be doing third-party delivery, right? But A, it's not easy, and B, the customers are all, marketed to like crazy on the third-party delivery platform. So Matt, let's go around and like just talk about best practice advice for someone who's either thinking about it or evaluating whether they should do it.
Yeah, best practice advice. Great point. So, number one, you better have a POS system that actually can handle your own native or direct delivery. A lot of off-the-shelf POSs are fantastic when it comes to just a consumer coming in the door or integrating into a third party, but having that whole system, there are very few out there from that side. A few things also that I just want to mention to a lot of the viewers and attendees is that we thought that with the downturn of fewer Uber and Lyft drivers that we would potentially have a surge in delivery driver candidates. Unfortunately, it hasn't panned out that way. I think delivery drivers are really migrating to DoorDash, Uber Eats, Postmates, and those, and they really like it. Set their own hours. They don't have to take out the trash, do any food prep. One of the things we've seen in the industry is that we used to hire drivers and we would multitask them into a multitude of things. The new norm with drivers is they want to drive, and when they're not driving, it can become a little bit of some friction as to what their role is within the restaurant. So also understand that the turnover in delivery driver is greater than the typical restaurant world. So if you're operating on a 200%, let's say, turnover rate for an annual basis within restaurants, you may see 300 to 400 in delivery drivers. It is a high turnover position. So when you're training people, you need to be able to do it quickly, get them on the road, and have them making money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point. I wonder what we could do to keep them in those roles. I know that you guys have probably, racked your brain to try to figure that magic.
I will tell you, it's pretty simple, and I mean this sincerely. It is about how much money they're making. They are there to make money, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
They're driven by tips and profit and volume. So you better be able to market your way to where you're getting a lot of volume.
Yeah. And I would also add that there are some interesting, obviously technologies that split tips and do tip sharing and same day tips, same day pay. That might be an incentive as well, just to kind of get those tips immediately. Right.
That's might be a given. That's a given. Any delivery driver wants their money in their pocket that day.
Yeah. Any best practice from you, Chris?
Well, after doing this for a few years, not to ride on Matt's coattails too much, but if your customers don't know you're delivering, you won't have your delivery volume. So you have to do a lot of either local store marketing, local restaurant marketing, whatever you want it to be. Your off-premises dining marketing has to be a focus of that takeaway team at your location. They need to let every customer that they service know, we deliver. You don't have to go to Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, whoever it happens to be. And with us, you're going to get our quality of service, you get our loyalty program, and you'll get all of our specials that we may or may not offer through a third-party platform. So it's to drive that volume, it's a sales job. So that's very, very important. You might get a little pushback from people that do dine-in that are very familiar with the four walls of the restaurant. They have 3 or 4 table turns during dinner rush. They're used to 140 seats or 200 seats, whatever it is. You're going to have to sell them on the fact that, guess what? I'm going to give you 10,000 tables. Go fill those tables every night, and you will make more money than anyone in the world. Having said that, you have to constrain the delivery area. Once again, what Matt said. I need my drivers doing 2.5 to 3 deliveries per hour so that they're getting their 12 to 15% tips and that tip pool in some states, or keeping those tips for themselves in other states like New York. Because ultimately, they want to be in their vehicle, listening to music while they're dropping off food. And the more you can drive up the volume and the more you can keep them on the road, it's great. And just as a note, there is an insurance benefit to people not being in the restaurant and being on the road. So that's another subtle thing that workman's compensation. There's lots of data you can track that helps you overcome some of these costs and some of these not so subtle issues that you have to deal with. It's too much for this this cast, but
Yeah.
anybody that wants to know some of those subtle things.
That's exciting. Yeah, there's little ways, right, that you guys have uncovered from doing it for so long that you found the tricks. And I imagine that if you had some kind of, I mean, obviously we all have like map apps and GPS apps or whatever, but maybe there are some really smart logistics apps out there that help them get those deliveries turned around quicker. I'm sure you guys have some tricks up your sleeve for that too. But Skip, any final best practice advice for our attendees watching today?
Yeah, so back to Matt's point about everything being about money and how much they make. Yes, that is true. However, we discovered as we had a very unique scenario with the state of Florida where we had to send out 10 orders at a time that would facilitate people in need of meals. So it was more kind of a Meals on Wheels program. And it wasn't only the money, but it was also the route and the efficiency of the route that you created, because they could be on the road for 6 hours, but you know, if you didn't make it efficient for them, they got frustrated and they're like, we don't want to do it anymore. So obviously finding the right software solution to be able to help you maintain the efficiency of the route, I think is extremely important. Back to Chris's point in regards to, you know, letting people know about that you offer delivery service yourself. I think it's important on two aspects. One, you're competing against all these companies that you've signed your life away with in regards to getting third-party delivery from, you know, all the major marketplaces. You know, in your contracts, you've probably given away your intellectual property for them to be able to market Google AdWords to be able to out-promote you on delivery service. So it comes down to who's got more money to promote your delivery service for your company. You know, it comes back also to, do you renegotiate your contracts with these third-party delivery marketplaces to make sure that you retain ownership of your keywords and make sure that you can promote your delivery service above what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And I think those are critical things. I believe, you know, the restaurants are realizing those complications in light of what the hotel industry faced years ago with some of the consolidators out there. I think we're definitely facing that right now.
Yeah, and I heard someone say at the Food on Demand conference that, you know, we're facing the same thing that the hotels faced with aggregators. And then someone just said, you know, what's going to happen is it's going to be, the restaurants are going to have to say, this is the cheapest way to get your food delivered, is direct through us. Like much like the hotels say, if you book online at Marriott.com, you're going to get the guaranteed lowest rate. So it's going to be interesting if we all migrate in that direction and how this all shakes out. Any you know, I guess parting words or words of wisdom, or what you think is going to happen in this space? I mean, all this consolidation and craziness. Matt, what do you think the future holds for delivery?
I mean, listen, I've been on the world's largest roller coaster for 27 years, from, you know, free delivery to zero competition to people didn't want delivery to now there's every delivery under the sun. So I wish I knew what the future is, but I'll tell you, we all better be thinking about it every day. And just honestly, I also go back to the restaurant business and just, you've got to consider kind of how you market to your consumers, knowing what they want. And we still believe that food quality trumps everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you. And you guys have probably seen the commercials, the Domino's commercials, where they're delivering taco pizzas and burger pizzas. I thought that was a clever, it's clever, right, Chris? Did you? So any sort of predictions, Chris, about the future of where this is all going and what you think about how it's shaping up?
Well, I don't think it's going to stop. I mean, our customers evolve, as we all know. They've evolved over time from sitting in, waiting at restaurants to get in to eat, to now they sit at home. And if I was a soothsayer, I would be rich in a few years versus going to work. So I think it's just going to continue to expand. I think there will be more consolidation in the third-party market, which is going to hurt a lot of people that are 100% dependent on it. So I think you have to prepare yourself just like you do service within a restaurant. How do I service my customers in my area so that I can stay in business? One thing I would, a best practice I would say is the one thing you really want to manage from a metrics perspective is what I call variance to quote. I've studied our customers for years and years. And if you tell them 40 minutes and you deliver in about 37 to 42, they're happy. If you tell them 20 minutes and you deliver in about 18 to 22, they're happy. But if you tell them 20 and you deliver in 40, they're not coming back. They might try you again in 3 or 4 months. So it's not bad to take 40 to 50 minutes to prep food and get it to them, but be honest and tell the customers that. And they will more often order from a brand they love than from a third-party company. So I think delivery, native delivery, whatever name we want to put on it as we move forward, it is really the wave of the future in order for restaurants to survive.
Wow. Okay. That's great. And any parting words for you, Skip?
I think we'll consider to see consolidations. Hopefully that will result in lower rates for the restaurants. I know there's several cities around the country that are considering mandated caps on the rates. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. You know, they're basically telling companies you can't make above X amount of dollars. Not quite sure logistically how that happens, but I think in the long run, we will see that consolidation happening. I think, at the end of the day, all restaurants out there need to consider multiple different models and using it as a tool to help them calculate, what is their profitability for each one of those aspects. And, RTN really helps in creating that with the TCO Calculator. And I think that's a huge advantage, something that I wish I would have had 3 years ago when third-party delivery really started taking off. But at the end of the day, I think third-party delivery is also a necessary evil. They provide additional marketing channels. And that's really all what third-party delivery marketplace is they're just a marketing platform for the restaurant.
Yeah, marketing, and then someone could say logistics too. So, hopefully as we take back more native delivery, or we see more own delivery channels arise in this space, in the industry, then restaurants will see it as a more profitable way to do business moving forward. And then customers will be happier, right, to see their local PF Chang's employee come to their door every now and then, and they'll get to know, get to know the familiar faces. That's what hospitality is all about, right? Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Stick around for the live Q&A a little bit later, and best of luck, continued success with all of your delivery channels, and onward and upward. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.